business rules creation and configuration. The first thing I want to do before creating a business rule is go to structure and make sure here in this option, families rules, I have created at least one class. So here I already have a class created. If I wanted to create a new one, we know it's pretty easy. For example, demo. Okay, so here we have our new class. We go to the tree. If we have a branch, we can lodge our new class in that branch and we can save. Okay, so in structure, we're ready to go. We have to have at least one class in our business rules family. Now, I can go here to family of records. I can go to rules and I can create a new rule. This user has permissions to create rules. So obviously, if we have permissions, we can create a rule. I'll click here on create rule. I'll select whatever class I want. And then I'll start typing in the information for my business rule. For example, I'm going to create a textual rule that's called current goals. And the code is going to be RT01. I'm not going to add a description. I could add a key. This would be exactly the same as in a class of process. It would allow me to identify my business rules by a key. Let me select one here. I'm going to create a new key. It's going to be called, for example, business rule. There we go. So I have my key, my class. Okay. And the next thing I want to do is select here the nature, the type of business rule. I hit the button continue. Oh, I already have one with this code. Well, I'm going to change it a little bit. Okay, I'll save. So I have my textual rule, and now I have to define the text. We can define it here, or if we want to use multi-language, we could define it from here. But I'm not going to use multi-language, so I'll click here. And here all we have to do is add some content. So all I'm going to do is paste some text here. Okay, for example, the selling priority are the following properties. And then we've added here 3 different properties. I can add whatever text I want. Okay, so we've already defined our textual rule. In this example, I'm not going to explain what this is because I'm going to explain it later on in the presentation. Basically here, what we're going to do, we're going to indicate that it's not certified and that we want to apply it immediately. I'll explain this later. And I'm going to save and exit. From this moment on, I could actually be using this business rule in a, let me see the code. Here it is. So I could actually use this in whatever process I want. As I mentioned before, maybe we can use it as a footer in an email. We can use it as the instructions of a certain task. Okay, so it's already created and ready to be used. I'm going to create one more rule. So I'll click here. I'll select the class. I'll give it a name. I'll give it a code. Okay, I need to indicate the nature. In this case, we're going to create an inference rule. And I'll hit continue. Okay, I already have one with this code. 1 second. There we go. All right. So in order to create my inference rule, as I mentioned earlier, we need to add different criterias and qualifications. So here we have the result, and here we have one criteria. It's not even set up yet. So this is the first thing we need to set up, our criterions and their results. The first thing I want to do is set up my first criterion. So I'm going to use a field that I have in the dictionary of terms. It's called property price. Here it is. Okay, and now here I can set up whatever operators I want and whatever values I want. This is a numeric value. So depending on the value I selected, the field I selected here, it's going to offer me different possibilities down here in the qualifications. So I can say, for example, if it's less than, let's say 50,000, 500,000. Okay, this is one possibility. I'll add it. And the other one is going to be that it's greater or equal than to 50,000. 500,000. Okay, so these are my two possibilities. I'll save and exit. So I already have one of these variables set up. I'm going to add another one. In this case, it's going to be a field I have that's called property. Okay, and it's a simple selection field, so it's already offering me the four different values. Okay, before, since I selected a numeric field, it allows me to set up the different values. But in this case, since it's a selection field, it just automatically pops in all the options and that's it. Okay, so I have these two. Now I need to set up the result. Okay, the result could be, for example, maybe a qualification. It's going to be a decimal number. I'm going to say no decimals, and I'll add different criteria. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so these are my possible outputs. So these are going to be the inputs. Whatever someone inputs in this field and whatever someone inputs in this other field is going to give me a result. So now I have to map all the possible results. For example, I'm going to say if it's a house, let's say it needs to be lower than 500,000. And the result would be this one here. Now I'll click on add qualification. So I already have one combination. Now I'd have to add the next one. For example, if it's a story, I'll add number 2. Oops, here, add qualification. If it's a terraced house, I'll add number 3. If it's an apartment, I'll add number 4. Now if it's an apartment but it's greater than 500,000 or equal, it's going to give me a number 5. This one's also going to give me a number 5. This one too. And these are going to give me a number 6. Well, that's it. Let's say these are all the different qualifications I wanted to create. Okay, so based on the input of a user in a form or any upload that's been inputting a certain value in these fields in the process, the business rule would use these values, these input criterias, and it would give me a result. I know this is a very simple example, but you guys have a good idea of how you guys can create these type of business rules. So once I've finished, I go out. Here I have to change the mode. I mentioned that I'll explain this in a moment. I'm going to change it to immediate, and I'll leave it not certified so that this business rule can be used in processes immediately. Well, before going back to the presentation, I'm going to create one more rule. This time it's going to be a mathematical rule, a calculation rule. Here we go. So if I want, I can add a key. I'll select calculation. I'll continue. Now I'll set up or I'll define my calculation. So in order to do that, I have to click on create. Then I have to indicate what type of operation it is, if it's an intermediate operation or a final operation. I'll select intermediate, and later on we're going to create a final operation that uses this intermediate operation. I'll give it a name, for example. Okay, I'll save. Now here we can build our calculation. For example, let's say that the field property price here we go, multiplied by the inference rule that we created earlier. One second. Here it is, the real estate agent benefit. So the property price multiplied by this here. Let's close and say divided by 100. And this is going to be my intermediate calculation. Okay, I'll save and exit. And now I'm going to create another operation. So I click on create. I select final operation. Here I can indicate if I want one or more decimals. I'll select I want two. And I'll click on the button save. Now here I could include, within this business rule, I could include the intermediate operation. For example, here I could say, now I want the property price. So here we have the property price. So this minus the benefit, the intermediate variable, is going to be the result of my business rule. So I'll save and exit. So here we can see we've got an intermediate operation. We could have more, of course. And here we have a final operation. And this is our calculation rule. Okay, so now I'm going to put this one not certified, immediate, and we're ready to go. We're also going to create an assignment rule. We're going to see that this one's really easy to create. I just click on create rule. I select the class. I indicate the name, for example, interest rate, and the code. So the code is going to be assignment rule. I can select a key. There we go. Okay, I'm going to select assignment. I'm going to click on continue. And I'm going to define my assignment rule. Here, all I have to do is select a field. So I have a field that's called interest rate. And whenever someone needs to know an interest rate in a process, I'm going to apply the value here. Okay, so it's going to be using this value. And that's it. I've already got my assignment rule created. I'll say it's not certified and immediate application. I'll explain this in a moment. I'm going to create one more calculation rule. So once more, we select the class. We indicate the name. We indicate the code. There we go. I select a key. This is optional. And now here I'm going to select again calculation, but this time, instead of creating an intermediate and a final operation, I'm going to create just a final operation. So I click here on create. I select final. I indicate how many decimal numbers I want. I save, and I can start building my calculation. Right now, I'm just going to create this random calculation, but later on, we're going to see how to use this in a process. Okay. So we're going to select the property price. Here we have the property price. So whatever someone inputs here, multiplied by the interest rate. This is an assignment rule, so I have to select a different business rule. Okay, this one here. There we go. So we have the property price multiplied by the assignment rule. Sorry, by the interest rate. Okay, we're going to close this. We're going to divide it by another field that's called how many years do you want in order to give back the loan. So I'm going to add another field here. Okay. And all of this, we're going to divide it by 12. Okay, we're ready to go. I already have my calculation. I'll save and exit. This time we don't have an intermediate calculation, only a final calculation. Now, then again, I'm going to leave it on mode not certified, but in application, I'm going to leave immediate. And I'll save and exit. Okay, there. Here we can see some of the business rules we created. I already had them created for another demo, so lots of them are duplicated. Okay, so we've already created a business rule of each nature, a textual rule, an assignment rule, a calculation. We actually created two different calculation rules and an inference rule. So we're going back to the presentation. So here we can see when I was creating the rules, I was always indicating not certified and immediate. We're going to see what that means. So if in mode I say it's not certified, it means that the rules can be modified and or deleted. So let's say I made a mistake and I still want to change it. It's very important for me to have my rule in not certified. Okay, this is so I can change it as many times as I need before I certify it. Okay, the BPMS motor cannot access the rules if the application here says that it's only going to be applied when it's certified or when it's regular. If it's immediate, it is going to allow me to do tests. This is why I selected in all of these different business rules, not mode, not certified, and application immediate, because this is going to allow me to run tests. Okay, this is the option I was selecting. Immediate means that the new rule would be applied to all the processes immediately. Doesn't matter if they're new or running processes. And they don't have to be certified. So even though I marked not certified, if I marked immediate, they are going to be applied. So I can actually test them. Let's say I've already done my test. I already know it's working perfectly, this business rule. Then I can certify my rule. This means that the rule is going to be fully operational. It can be modified or deleted, and the motor can now access them. They can be manually changed to not certified or to disabled, as long as they're not being used in a process. Then we've got an option that's called expired. This is the mode of a rule which has a more recent and certified version. So let's say I create a new version. This is something we're going to see later. I create a new version of a business rule and I certify it. As soon as the new version has been certified, this one, the older version, is going to be expired. This is why we can't change it here. It's not editable. This is going to change automatically when we publish the new version of the business rule. And disabled means that the rule cannot be modified or deleted. This mode is applied manually to a version which is no longer functional and affects all its versions. So as soon as we indicate that one version is disabled, all the previous versions are also going to be disabled. And then here, if we want to know all the other applications, we have the immediate application. Okay, this is an option that's going to allow us to run tests. But the most common option to be used is when it is certified. So when can I actually apply a business rule in a process? Only when it's certified. This would be the most common way of working. So usually when we have a business rule in mode not certified, and here in an application it says when it is certified, then it wouldn't apply to the processes until the moment in which we change it to certified. And regular means that the new rule is only going to be applied to the new processes. Here we can see that once we create a rule, it's going to be in version 1. And later on, we can create new rules based on that version. Okay, so we can create consecutive numbers that are going to be assigned to the new versions of the original business rule. So let's say I have my version 1, it's certified, it's being used, so there's lots of processes that are being affected by this business rule. And then I create a new rule. This would be version 2. It's not certified. So as long as it's not certified, all the running processes are going to continue using version 1. But then it comes to a point when the new version has been certified. That means that as soon as it's certified, its previous version is going to be automatically expired. So all the running processes, all the new processes that need this business rule are going to start using version 2. And version 1 isn't going to be used anymore.